I put the people first.
Just calling to say hello, love you, miss you.
There is more than enough room.
Hold on to who you are and what you believe in.
Listen,
I just want to talk to a human.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Where's Your Humanity? I'm your host, Gail Fraser, and I am so honored to be joined by today's guest, Asia Lareau. She is a Los Angeles-raised, Minneapolis-based visionary who partners with individuals and teams to align their purpose, power, and potential. She is a passionate, people-first leader who does not believe in gatekeeping. She enables and empowers her community with the knowledge she's acquired from corporate, MIT, and the Ivy League. She is the founder of Aligned LLC and the creator of Girl Grab the Mic, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. Welcome, Asia.
thank you. Oh, Gail, that was such a sweet introduction. I am so happy to be here. Very excited to chat with you today.
I am so happy to have you here. For background for listeners, Asia and I met here in the Twin Cities at a women's networking group. Shout out to the Dot. Just immediately was like, I need to get to know you, and became fast friends. And you are just doing so many amazing things. Just we immediately connected on rising together and taking action together and in community.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. I remember when we first met too, Gail, it was truly like electric frequency. I was like, I need to meet her. And just being able to meet women who are doing amazing things is all about what I am into. I'm a builder of brave spaces, a convener of women, and really just believe in empowering people to reach or exceed their potential. So really excited that we're in each other's orbit.
Likewise. I know this is something you're super passionate about now.
Yeah.
What was your journey to finding this as like your central hub of your career of like, this is what I'm really passionate about and this is what I do?
Yeah. So as a younger kid, I would watch people do things without anyone else watching, and then they'd be rewarded for it later, right? And they'd be asked, why'd you do that? And it's like, well, because it was the right thing to do. And I remember that hitting me hard. It's like, what am I doing when no one's watching, but it's still having an impact on the whole? And that through line for me has truly, it's been the navigator for me to all scenarios I involve myself in. I think that there's enough room at the table for everybody to win. I think that there's enough room for us all to rise together, but sometimes we're not choosing to work together. We're choosing to be very much A to B, point A to B, one track mind. And I think that that's a shame. Honestly, I do. So I do what I can in my work to bring people together, to inspire collective action talent, and for us to lean on each other for an even more powerful outcome.
I love that about the work that you're doing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, so recently you went, I wouldn't say viral, but bigger, had a bigger TikTok moment where you threw out an idea of like, hey, I want to bring women together in a safe space to practice public speaking and being on a stage and owning your voice. People were like, yeah, I want that. Obviously they do. And I had the honor of being at your first event that sold out. And if I'm right, all of them have sold out so far. Right. You have such a gift for creating a space where people feel really encouraged to break out of their shell a little bit and be like, yeah, you're celebrated for you. And this is a safe space to try. And no one here's going to judge you. What was that first gathering like for you? I know what it was like for me.
My whole body is in chills right now. And truly, that's reminiscent of the experience of the first gathering. It was heartful, eyes wide open, just seeing how much of an impact we can make when we come together to practice courage, to practice confidence together. I was reminded that whatever it is I'm doing, this crazy thing that just came out of an idea on TikTok, it's resonating and it's what we need right now. And I felt honored to hold space for women to come together in a judgment-free zone. And I felt motivated to continue holding this space. And I have to tell you, Gail, there's like a different texture to it, right? Like there's other networking events and professional gatherings that serve a certain purpose. And I myself love going to those. We met at one similar.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally. But my question is like, where are the spaces that prepare us for those? What's happening behind the scenes? Where can I be imperfect? Where can I just be me? Like no masks, no transactional thing, nothing. Just showing up raw, real, with the encouragement to just fumble, try, practice again, but knowing that that gets me ready for the real moments.
I love that you say that too about Girl Grab the Mic, because I hate the term networking because it comes with this really icky connotation of a lot of us learn about networking in college, in school, and they're like, you go and you got to meet all of these people in suits and these execs and like have your elevator pitch ready and pitch yourself to them. And like at that stage in your life, most people don't know what they want to do for their career. They're still figuring out what life is and how they behave as an adult in the world. And then like suddenly it's like, oh, you have to pitch yourself to these people who in your mind know everything and have it all figured out. And then it just feels really inaccessible. And also I felt this way and hear from a lot of other people that it feels like you're intentionally going into a room to meet people to then use them to get ahead in your career, which just feels icky. And so I think that one of my endless soapboxes now as someone who does a lot of networking, I get most of my business through in-person networking.
Yeah.
Is that no, you just go meet people. And like whether you're meeting someone who is, in their first year in corporate, whatever job, or you're meeting someone who's the CEO, like everyone is also imperfect and still figuring out their life and what they care about. And if you go in with a mindset of, I'm just going to go in and like be curious about other people and ask about them and not necessarily care to get anything out of it, you will get so much more out of it because you're able to let go of the perfection and the expectations of like, here's what I need to get out of this for this to have been worth my time.
Couldn't agree more. And even when I hear you say that now, it's like, there's something about exercising presence that I think is not so common anymore, right? Like just really being present in the moment to establish that relationship with this person across the room from you. It's like, am I coming here because I'm so concerned about building a business or so concerned about how I get as many business cards as possible? Or am I here to learn the story of the person that's standing right in front of me? And maybe when I listen actively, deeply, with intention to that story, I learned something. And that's that curiosity, that open-mindedness. And that to me is the establishment of real human connection.
Yeah. And I know you coach leaders on how to do that. What are the first things that you talk to them about when you're kind of teaching? Because I felt this way learning how to do this, right? I say for people who are just like, oh, I'm introverted, I don't feel comfortable networking or feel icky about it like I did. I'm like, it's a practiced skill. Like you have to practice it. So what are those first talking points, the first pieces that you're addressing when you're teaching people how to get curious about other people?
I love that question so much because it's true. And it does take practice, but it's not impossible, right? And that's the worked part of it. I always coach on knowing your why. And that is the most important anchor, right? Because that to me, if I know my why, okay, maybe I have a certain job title, but like what's behind it? What's the motivation, the inspiration? What gets me, I don't know, feeling jazzed to perform my best? That's the real anchor of my why. And so I coach folks on figuring out, let's peel the layers on getting to what it is that wakes you up and you just can't wait to get started on it. For me, it's being a builder of brave spaces. Like, I want women to feel unstoppable. I want them to feel so incredibly powerful that they are their best cheerleaders. They are the ones walking into a room with such a confidence, it just permeates, it's contagious, right? But we have to be able to figure out, where does that live? And so the conversations that come from that is actually identifying limiting beliefs, and we all have them, right?
Mhm.
It's like, what's the old story that I've been telling myself knowingly or actually unknowingly, right?
Yes.
Just completely conditioned to believe some story or old narrative about myself that leads the way and informs the way I am in the world. But what if we were to change that? A question I like to ask is, what's an old story that you're retiring? It just no longer fits anymore. What's replacing it? Right? And that's where we get to start. So if you do that work for yourself, it allows for those curiosities to come up for the person that is standing right in front of you.
I went to school for psychology, and one of the statistics that I always find interesting is that if you set SMART goals, so like that SMART,
Yes.
SMART goals, people who set SMART goals against people who just set a goal and it's undefined are more likely to reach their goal. And in my head, knowing the perfectionism that some people feel and just seeing how I move through the world versus how like my peers have moved through the world, I'm like, but are they happy when they reach that goal?
Okay.
Because I've had a lot of goals where I'm like, it pivots when I'm working through it. Okay, this is my 1-year plan, or this is what I want to be doing in 3 years. And 3 years later, I'm doing something totally different,
Oh,
but
yeah.
right. And it's just a curiosity, right? It's not a statistic that exists. It's just that one study. And I always think about it where I'm just like,
Love it.
who's feeling more aligned by the end of that? Is it just someone who like went ahead and sought out that goal and achieved that goal? So yeah, some people are going to want it, but I think some people are going to come out of that and be like, well, I did the thing that I said I was going to do, and now what?
And
And I
now
think
what?
that a lot
Yes.
of people, especially in corporate America and just how our society teaches us to be about our career, a lot of people don't stop to think about, what do I actually want?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? And like, I love what you said, but is it right? Like, I did all these things, I checked all these boxes, but was it right? Was it aligned to me? Did it fill
Mhm.
my cup? Like, yes, there's society's cup and expectations and all those things that are external to us. But what happens when we face the mirror inward or the antenna and focus inward?
Mhm.
Then what? And it forces us, or maybe I should say it as an opportunity for us to really be real with ourselves, right? Of like, what is it that truly lights me up? So I
Mhm.
love that.
I always think it's so interesting because as someone who I've taken like many many directions in my own career, that I'm like, each time I made the decision to jump ship and do something else, or felt
Mhm.
drawn to this thing, or went back to school, or did whatever, it was always like, oh, it seems a little crazy compared to the societal expectation of like, I had a new job and quite frankly, a really different like different job title, different type of role every single year for the first 8 years of my career. And that was every single time I made the move, it was the right move. But it
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily, and I move through the world like that now because I'm just like, well, it's always worked out. Like if I follow my gut, if I trust what feels good, like
Exactly.
I was really anxious about it when I was 19, and that's how I was moving through the world, and none of my peers were doing that. But now I feel ahead in some ways that people are like, some of my peers are like, "Wait, but I did all the things right,
Mhm.
and now what?" And
Mm.
I'm just like, "No, you just gotta trust your gut, like, it'll you gotta follow what you care about." And they're like, "I don't know that I know how to do that."
It's really a thing, right? Of like the how, but how do I do it? How do I trust my gut? How do I trust my intuition? What does it look like? And what I often mix into my coaching is this idea of getting more in tune with our bodies, right? Because it might be something, again, we're looking externally for, but our bodies, they know, and they take score. They will talk to us, right? And like if there's burnout that's happening, where's the first place we feel it? It's in our bodies. We might get sick, we might get a runny nose, we might get a headache, we might start to just actually slow down in body performance. That is something worth tuning into. But if we're finding that we like our bodies are starting to actually have more energy, more motivation, excitement, that is an indicator of alignment. So
Yeah.
when learning about the how or where do I find it, all we got to do is look inside.
Yeah. I know we talked about limiting beliefs already.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to figuring out, like, how do I not necessarily, yes, there's a how do I tune into that, but I
Mhm.
think we all have some recognition of, oh, I'm feeling burnt out, or I'm feeling really stressed, or I'm really exhausted.
Sure. Yeah.
I think people recognize that feeling. Then there's you have the little voice of like, well, maybe if I did this instead, that would be better. And you kind of have that little voice that's telling you to do probably the thing you should be doing.
Uh-huh.
Like, how do you guide people through that unlock when they're like, but I don't think that I can make that change?
Oh, what a powerful question, Gail. Seriously, that little voice, that little voice wants the best for us, right? Like that little voice has a lot of wisdom. That little voice is a gut intuition whose purpose is for us to succeed. And yes, there's going to be fear with it. There's another voice that's always on the other side saying, but what if I fail, right? But what if I name any kind of other like obstacle type language there? The two have to work in tandem, but we have to do a better job of amplifying the voice of the encourager, of the one that sees that we can actually be successful. And what I do a lot of times with that little voice, I know this sounds kind of silly, but like name her. Like for me, her name is Peggy. And like Peggy is her wrong. Okay. Like she will challenge me to do things where I'm like, whoa, 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 what? For example, Peggy was like, post on TikTok and ask if there's 5 women out there who want to use their voices out loud. And then Girl Grab the Mic was born. Like, there's not ever going to be not fear with it, right? But it's the question of asking myself, what am I doing to leverage that feeling of fear, that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of the unknown, and actually utilize it to my advantage? Is it instead an activation? Is it instead fuel? Is it instead preparation for me to do the scary thing? And so that type of language, like that inner voice, the inner dialogue, is what allows us to prepare for that outer action, that outer outcome.
Yeah, name her. I think about it from, I know this is a big thing in cognitive behavioral therapy, where it's like the reframe
Oh, yeah.
and like whether that's your preferred preferred method of working through things or not. I think there is really something powerful about like when we feel that anxiety of like the fear and the just like kind of buzzing, like, I don't know that I can do that. There is that feeling of friction.
Yeah.
I think there can be, if you let yourself, a way to turn that into an excitement
Yes.
where, because excitement and fear are very similar body activations, where they're kind of
Yeah.
increasing your energy levels in fear so that you can fight off something bad, and in
Absolutely.
excitement because you're just energized and excited and passionate. They're both a survival tool in our bodies, where it's like fear is trying to protect us from harm and the excitement is trying to drive us towards something that's aligned to us. That, like, that's such a valuable place to practice that reframing of, okay, if I feel really anxious about something that I think I should move towards, how do I turn that anxiety into like, oh, I'm like really excited about this?
There it is. Mm-hmm. There it is. You named it. That's the unlock. And you're absolutely right. fear, excitement, fear, readiness, they're actually on the same frequency, right? But the only way out of that fear is through to be able to identify that excitement, that readiness, and we can do it in our language. I love what you just described. Oh my gosh, I'm having a fearful feeling, I'm feeling anxious. Oh, actually, I'm ready. I'm prepared. This is my moment to speak. I am ready to take up space. I want to take a stand. Like being able to utilize these little clips of just, like you said, the reframe, but it's almost like a transmutation, right? It's like, how do I transmute that energy of fear, knowing that it actually is on that same frequency for me to harness it as readiness, as being unstoppable?
Yeah. And I think a huge part of the readiness and the stepping into that power is like knowing that you're going to make mistakes
Oh,
and
yeah,
knowing that we're going to make mistakes anyway.
it's true.
That no matter what you do, you make a mistake at work, you forget to do X, Y, and Z in your life. We're making mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
And so stepping into something new that you don't feel ready for, even if you have that voice that's saying, like, no, like, go get it. Like, you should do this instead. If you're like, well, I can't. And I hear this a lot from people who so I started my business almost 2 years ago, and people are just like, oh, I could never do that. And I was like, I was one of those people too, where it was like,
Mhm.
I had this voice where it was just like, I know that I want to run my own business. I didn't know what that was yet. And that was really
Sure.
valid. But then it was like, but I could never do that because I have ADHD. I'm too disorganized. I couldn't work for myself, whatever.
Mhm.
And then you have okay, but like, what if I just tried it? And the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work.
Mhm.
And that's where it shifts from the fear of I can't do it to oh, this is going to be so great. And I'm so excited about this and I'm so engaged about it because I've accepted that imperfection is kind of part of the deal.
I love that so much, right? And like that piece of it being like the what if I try? It's like that
Mhm.
is the saying I love. It's like, what if I fail? What if I soar? Like literally, what if this goes actually extremely well? Then then I also release the pressure too. Yeah, what if I fail? But I mean, that release and pressure of not worrying about that worst case scenario because you've already named it. It allows for stepping into the trying, the
Mhm.
trial, the figuring out what can I learn in this stage. And it's funny, I had a job where we were doing marketing, like brand marketing for a company at one time, which involved going on tour with an Olympian, which was really fun. And she had the best sayings. Her name is Dee Dee Trotter. And Dee Dee would always talk about failure as like we're looking at it wrong, right? Like failure seems to be this idea of just ultimate defeat. And like,
Mhm.
gosh, like I can't even like try again after failure because I'm already down in the dumps, right? But she's like, what if, Dee Dee says, what if that failure, the mindset around it is it's actually the blueprint for success? So the more I fail, it means the more I fill out this blueprint, like I'm actually
Mhm.
unveiling it, the answer to what success is, the foundation for the launch pad to the thing that works. It's just like I'm getting other things that don't work out of the way. And so, again,
Yes.
with that reframe, I love it because it's like, how empowering is it not to be afraid of failure, not to be afraid of it not working, but to get curious about what part of this might work?
Yeah.
Where might I actually just start that business? Where might I just go ahead and do the little thing that the baby step becomes a monumental thing on the path to my purpose?
1,000% that. So I used to be a campus recruiter.
Yeah.
And when I was a college student, I felt so anxious about what I want to do,
Mm.
feeling stuck in my career. A lot of the people around me, my peers or my family had very like path careers, teacher, engineer, etc., where there's a degree that you have to get and there are steps you have to take and then you can have this career. I just like didn't have that. Eventually I realized, and again, like I said, when I was 19 and I was figuring out what I wanted to do. And I had dropped out of college and started working and had a different job every year. But then I started to realize, okay, here's what I don't like doing. Here's what I do like doing. Here's what I'm
Mhm.
really good at. Here's what I'm really bad at. And there's some self-awareness involved in that because I was definitely like a people pleaser. Like I wanted to be good at everything in my job.
Mhm.
And there are things that I'm not good at. And there has to be some self-awareness there of like, yeah, I don't excel at this. I'm not always great at like responding to an email in a timely manner. I like there are things that just I'm not great at, but I am really great at these things. I'm really great at seeing the patterns and building systems to support people and being able to do our work. And that's obviously what I do now. But I wouldn't have figured that out had I not had those 8 jobs that showed me over, again, 8 years, I was able to narrow it down. It
Beautiful.
wasn't one job that became, oh, this is my purpose, like this is my passion. And I just happened to fall into that job and figure that out. It was really a cutting away.
Yes.
I like the metaphor of building the sculpture where
Yeah.
you're chipping away at the marble to build the final result.
Love that.
And there's so much power in that of being like, unfortunately, the process of trial and error includes error.
Right?
Those errors also teach you like, okay, that didn't work. This isn't what the social media algorithm likes. This didn't work to sell. I didn't like doing this type of work. I didn't like doing X, Y, and Z. But it kind of starts to unveil the what
Yeah.
is right.
Yeah. I'm just even picturing that was such a great visual of the sculpture and kind of chipping away at it, right? Because we can't get the full masterpiece until that chipping away has happened. And with every one of those experiences, like you described over 8 years, they were critical, they were essential to actually being able to chip away and unveil what Gail was
Mhm.
meant to do and is meant to do. And like you are helping so many businesses with that expertise and not from an angle that's like, oh, I do a little bit of this or a little bit, like you've narrowed in on your secret sauce. And I feel like that's so many of us, even my clients too. It's like we are in that process of narrowing in on your secret sauce. Like everyone has it, right? But we just have to give ourselves the spaciousness and the grace, capital G grace,
Yeah.
be able to really just find it and to call it what it is. Like if there is something that feels motivating to us, there's a reason that it does, right?
Mhm.
And like it is okay, it is justified to follow that inkling.
Yeah. What did that look like for you as you started? I know you
Yeah.
started your business Aligned a
Hmm.
few years ago now,
Yeah.
and obviously Girl Grab the Mic more recently,
Hmm.
but what did that feel like for you as you were trying to uncover what does this look like? Like what what is Aligned supposed to be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're right about the trial and error having error, right? Like it's funny. So Aligned had started off as a confidence coaching business for women because I knew that was like part of my story. It's like something that I'm lit up about. I love it, right? And then I quickly realized that I wanted to incorporate more of my own strengths, which was operations, workforce transformation, HR administration, right? And then all of a sudden we're looking at more than just confidence coaching for women. And so I didn't want to just necessarily be in this box, but I felt a lot of pressure. I felt pressure to be in a box. And I came across, of course, the term multi potentialite and this
Yes.
idea that the specialty of a multi potentialite is someone who just specializes in not having a specialty, right? Like you can actually have multiple passions, skill sets, talents, and do jobs that fit in the different various industries. And so I started to then position Aligned more broadly as a consulting practice that was allowing me to offer executive coaching in addition to fractional operational engagements. And so that transferred into Asia being like, yeah, like I showed up super jazzed to the work that I was doing. I
Mhm.
every day consisted of work that I loved and confidence coaching was still a through line, whether it was operational work or, really looking at those limiting beliefs with a client, like it never left my process. And so I think that piece of it, of the release of feeling like I needed to be in one box only, was it was liberating, honestly, to say I can be the coach, I can be the operator, and still bring 100% of myself to both things.
Mm-hmm. And having that variety for someone who's really passionate about a bunch of different things, like I cannot relate to only having one passion. Like I'm like, I don't know if there are people who feel that way. I'm sure there are, because apparently that's how our whole society is structured. But like, I can't relate to it at all. And I'm going to do my best work. And some people view it as really scattered, right? It's like, oh, you have multiple passions and you do all of these different things, and doesn't that feel scattered? And I'm like, no, because it would feel really constricting if I just did one thing.
There it is. Like literally, I couldn't agree more. And I get that a lot. People in the beginning, when I was talking through it and I wasn't aware of this term of having like a portfolio career and having multiple income streams, I had no idea that was even allowed. I say like quote unquote allowed, right, for us to do.
Yeah, but it feels that way.
It does, doesn't it? It's like I didn't even allow myself to explore something other than one singular job title, one singular tax bracket type of like working on a W-2 in a corporate sphere. There's so much more. It can be a mix, right? You can be a W-2 and a 1099, and there's all these different kind of angles and pathways that can actually be super exciting and encouraging and liberating. But people in the beginning, I will never forget, told me the same words, like, it sounds confusing. It sounds fickle. It sounds like you're in an indecision point, right? Like, and that didn't help my inner dialogue, to be completely honest. Like, there was some self-doubt that I was like, why can't I just know the one thing I want to do? But it's because I wasn't meant to. And we're not always meant to. I guess I truly believe as a human, right? Like, we're dynamic, we're integrated, we're layered. We are complex beings. And why couldn't our career paths reflect that same dynamicism, right?
Yeah. And we evolve too. Whereas the things that I wanted to do when I was 19, 25 are different than the things that I want to do now in my career and in my life. And I have different hobbies and different friends and different passion, like things that I care about.
Totally.
They're all different at your different stages of life. And I think a great example of that I see, I'm in the age where a lot of my friends are getting married, having babies. Those are huge life changes, especially as women have kids. There are a lot of limiting things that come in. Just like your time is more limited. Corporate America does not let you have that much time off. Your priorities completely change because you go from being this person who maybe you have a spouse or partner and you don't have to, like, you come home from work and you do whatever and you order DoorDash and you like whatever. And it's not necessarily that your schedule's like super open. I mean, I'm very, very busy and I don't have any kids, but like, then if I were to have kids and like I see the people around me, it's like, but your priorities have to change because now there's something else that you have to do. So our careers should change too, because there are different things that we care about.
Yeah. Those different stages, phases of life, it's so real, right? And being able to really match that or be in lockstep with it, and not feeling like we have to choose or put one down or feel like we're in a stage of being either married or a couple or caretaking for children is really a big new chapter, right? And so does my job or the work that I'm doing, does it flex with that or does it not? And then at what point then does the individual start to reach that burnout again, right? Because they're trying to make things work and the tensions are there. And so I don't know, I've really come to appreciate this flexibility too and fluidity that's attached to the multi-potential, or at least the like portfolio career path. I want to see more on it. I want to see more resources, books, conferences, even about how to do it, how to engage, how to have more conversations around it. And for it not to feel so much like taboo, like it did to me when I first found it, you know?
Yeah. Do you want to define portfolio career for anyone listening who might be like, I've never heard of that before?
Yeah, yes, of course. So a portfolio career, at least to me, means being able to have multiple income streams, right? And being able to say you're not attached to just one sole role within one sole industry. It's the ability to say, I am a writer, I'm a lawyer, I'm a photographer, and a chef. And I want all those pieces of me to be upfront and present. And I don't want to have to choose. So, how do I build a life that allows me to integrate all of those things in a way that also allows me to make a living, right? Because that's the piece of it, to say you don't have to do these things as hobbies necessarily or passion projects. You can really find ways to have offerings that are paid offerings that really showcase the brilliance of your work. Like, you're putting forth incredible work, but it's tapping into the most authentic pieces of you. And so a portfolio career captures all of those different elements, pieces of the individual.
Yes. And I know that you've talked about this a lot, and I talk about it a lot too. Kim, who's a brand designer, on a few weeks ago, it's like, yeah, my resume looks like a CVS receipt. And I thought that was such a funny visual, but it's so true. When people are just like, oh, what did you study? Or what did you do before you had your business? I'm just like, my resume looks crazy. Like, like it does not look cohesive whatsoever. And yet all of those jobs highlighted an aspect of things that I really excel at, whether that was being a chef. I was always really passionate about it as a kid, and I did that, and it was great, and I enjoyed it. And then I worked in the service industry and the healthcare world, and as somebody who has invisible disability, like, that was important to me too. And as I've grown, it's like these little chunks and pieces that you put together. And I think what's so exciting about entrepreneurship, and scary for a lot of people, and scary at times, for me too, as someone who's like really kind of lived this in their career, is that you get to evolve. Because how many times have you seen something where you're just like, oh, I didn't think to put those two things together, but
Yes.
this thing really heightens this thing. They're almost like the wine pairing of careers. Okay, I have these two passions, and this one makes my knowledge about this one, or my expertise about this one, so much more complex and valuable and interesting, because it's not just the same rat running in a circle of like, this is what we've always done.
Yes, it's original.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. It's exactly right. The originality piece is what I'm looking for, right? When I start to think of like vendors I want to work with, or businesses that I want to work with, or businesses I've been loyal to, even experiences, services, offerings, you name it. It's the originality of it that hooks me first. And so what if we put that same lens on the way that we show up, right, in the world as a working professional? You get me, but you get all of me. That term, like, show up to work as your full self. I mean, boy, do we get to do that in entrepreneurship, in portfolio careers. And yeah, I think it's really an interesting pathway, and one where I think I have felt the most proud of the version I'm showing up with, to my clients, to the businesses, the vendors, the partners that I'm working with, because I'm not holding anything back. It's like, okay, I'm putting a hat on now that's requiring executive coaching, but there's some operational, things that might actually come in handy right now. Okay, why would I gatekeep? I want to share that, right? Or again, vice versa. If we're doing operations or facilitating a workshop, there might be some really important coaching principles that come into making that experience even better. So why not integrate?
And I think that's really what you have to offer when you say, you know what, screw the box.
Mm-hmm.
I can show up and I can like a bunch of different things and I can do a bunch of different things. And that makes me better at all of the things.
Exactly.
It's not the other way around.
No, that's where we get it wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. That's the pathway. And I wonder too, like, do you think that there's things that we could be doing in either workspaces or even in professional, non-professional to make that more of the narrative? Like, that's constantly what I'm wondering. But like, what do you think we're missing?
I think two things. So I think to what we were talking about before with collective action is a big piece that's missing societally, but in just like corporate structure and culture is this ability to evolve.
Yeah.
Because it's really set up for if you want to advance in your career, you go to this level, like you're accountant level 1, and then you're like a senior accountant, and then you're lead, and then you're whatever, and then you're the CFO, and then you move to another company where you can be the CFO. And then but it's just so linear how we have set our expectations for the workplace. And I think there needs to be some self-awareness at the leadership level, because that's what I've always been frustrated by working in a corporation is that I very strongly believe that people grow and change and evolve and get better at something. And now I want to move and do this because actually this is my strength and this is an area where I think I have a lot to offer. And leadership has been like, well, that's a lateral move. And now you're putting yourself behind for opportunities for promotion or things like that. And I think we need to deconstruct that a little bit. Like, I think there needs to be, like I said, self-awareness at the leadership level of like, step outside yourself, your own path, your own trajectory, because I think there's a lot of pride and ego often in that of like, I made it to this level. And we see this in a lot of places in culture, not just corporate, but like, I made it to this level and I had to do X, Y, and Z, so other people should have to as well.
Yeah.
And that's destructive in a lot of ways. But I think that we step outside of that and you bring self-awareness into it. And it's like, well, what if I didn't have to do that? What if I got to kind of try different things and I got to see how I could bring a new perspective to this thing? And I was given that permission to try. Like, how much different would my career be now? What if I was given the opportunity to grow and to progress in a way that was nonlinear? Because I think right now there's just such a limitation of how we think about it, of like, we can't do that because that's not how we do things here. And I think that there just needs to be some self-awareness of being like, yeah, but that's not like, this is my whole job. And this has been my whole job in corporate of,
Yeah.
I know we've always done it that way, but is that the best way to be doing it?
Important.
Yeah. And I think we need more of that. Second is just, I think to your point about giving women and people like the voice to advocate for their experience. It is so limited, the spaces that we give people in general to practice advocating for their skill set. And now in this job market where there's a lot of like AI resume readers and things, it's really hard to even get an interview because there's a lot of technology in place that could be a barrier if you have this kind of career, that you have to be going into the room. You have to be going into the rooms and meeting people and finding opportunities that way. If you have this type of career, that's the only way that I've been able to do it, is like, you have to go in and you have to meet the people and you have to talk to them about it. And you have to be so good at advocating for well, yeah, of course I can handle a stressful environment. I'm like, yeah, I worked Mother's Day brunch. I can handle a stressful environment. I used to get yelled at for 8 hours a day. That's what being a chef is like. I can deal with difficult personalities because of that, where it's like in corporate, they look down on like a service industry job and don't really see it as quote unquote job experience. And I'm like, okay, but that's where I learned the most cohesive team I've ever had was in a kitchen, because
Mm-hmm.
dealing with knives and hot things and you have to work together, otherwise it doesn't work. And
Yes.
so like most cohesive teams I've ever been on in a kitchen, most difficult personalities I've had to work with. Those are the things that the soft skills that I was just like, well, yeah, I can bring that into corporate. Like those are the things that you need in any job, of like an ability to work with someone that
Yes.
you don't necessarily agree with, or like be able to manage conflict. And I had to go in and advocate for that. You have to be so much better and proactive about advocating for your skill set as it relates to any other job that you want. And then you have to be in the room talking to the people who could not necessarily give you that job. Back to the like meeting people to use them feels icky, but just like being
Sure.
able to talk to your experience and maybe get connections that can be the one saying your name in a room that you want to be in.
Yes. Yeah. It really reminds me of this idea of transferable skill sets, right? And being able to actually connect dots. We have to be able to connect those dots too, to be able to help. So now is the world we're living in, to help others connect the dots on the strengths we bring, right? So yes, the things that I learned in the back kitchen, they actually are 100% transferable to whatever you might be asking me to do on this job right here, right now, plus some. Right. And the same things I worked in an industrial warehouse, right? Like
Mhm.
steel toe boots and a walkie talkie and everything. And that's the exact experiences that help make me ready for those difficult conversations in corporate, being able to navigate competing priorities or really establish good morale within a workplace team. It comes from a different place, but there's 100% synergies there. And so I think that it's two-part or like twofold. And I love what you said. It's like, me as the individual, I have to have the confidence to know that those experiences that I've lived through matter. And they
Mhm.
do matter. And that's what I
Yes.
want more people to know and advocate for themselves. Every experience you've had, good or bad, is valuable. It
Mhm.
is getting you ready for the next thing, whether you talk more about it or you figure out that it uncovered something you're like, I could pass on that.
Yeah.
All valuable. And the second part of it is to be able to, like you said, with words, advocate it enough in a way for the people to remember.
Mhm.
Remember that you're the one for the role. And for them to remember, what are they saying about me when I'm not in the room? It's all based on what am I saying about myself when I am in the room? And so
Mhm.
having that kind of, it shouldn't be scary. It can be a scary thing, but instead it should feel like an opportunity, right? For us to be able to voice our truest selves, to connect the dots of the experiences we've had and how they are transferable to the current experience at hand or the current need at hand.
I'm feeling so full circle with that point. At the beginning of the episode, we were talking about how to break through those limiting beliefs and
Mhm,
uncover what your real purpose is. And I
mhm.
think that's the first step of what do I believe about the jobs that I've had, the types of experience that I've had. I
Yes.
hear all the time from other people who worked in the service industry or worked in retail or whatever that like, well, that's not really job experience or that's not really whatever. And I'm like, no, it is though. So, what are those limiting beliefs that you're telling yourself about the jobs that you've had? I hear this all the time, and you probably do too, of like, well, I want to be doing X, Y, and Z, but I can't do that because I've had a decade in HR. And
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
that doesn't relate. That's a limiting belief. Now let's chip away at the marble. Like, let's see what are you good at? Like, you've learned a lot from all of these jobs. Like, where do you really excel? What's not really your jam? Like, what are you not great at? And like, what parts of your job do you get really energized by? And what parts of your job do you find really draining or like fall onto the back burner and you procrastinate them a lot? And then like, what does that translate to? And I think that's been a big part of my career path. Like, I'm ready to not be in a kitchen anymore. I really like working on a team. I want to talk to people more. I want to have a little bit more variety. I want to move around a little bit more. And then you take some of those pieces and you say, okay, well, what does that translate to? And that's where you are able to advocate for it because you've done the work of being like, nope, this is a limiting belief that this job doesn't matter or that this work experience, my decade of HR isn't going to relate to being a business analyst at this company or whatever. And saying, okay, no, but what are the skills that I have? Because part of that, like, do's and don'ts is skills that you have. It's like, what am I good at? What are those pieces that I bring to the table? And then once you uncover like, okay, well, that might be this like bucket of jobs where like I had that moment in college where I was studying psychology, didn't want to do research, wasn't really sure, but was working in a research lab where I was training research assistants and creating SOPs and putting together like training videos and cold calling participants for research studies and interviewing them. And I was like, oh, I like all of these things, but I don't want to do research. And I'm not interested in continuing education in this way. But HR has all those things. It has the training and it has the interviewing and the things that I liked about this job. And I think once you do those steps, you can kind of be like, okay, even if it's like an amorphous thing of like, I know I'm ready to leave my job. I know that I'm ready to not do this anymore. But I don't know what that next step could even look like, which we probably both hear a lot, is like, then it's like, okay, but now you have at least a reference point of like, well, what could those jobs be? And then talk to people in your network. Hey, I'm really curious about what a business analyst does, or I'm really curious about what a leadership coach does, or do you know anyone who does that I could just ask a bunch of questions? Like I could just pick their brain. And I was fortunate enough to do that when I started my business, where I'd met someone who did operations for small businesses. And I was like, hey, can I just get coffee with you? Like, I'm really curious about it. And our first meeting was like, that's really cool. That's what you do. I could never run my own business. And then our second meeting was like, okay, how do I figure out my pricing and how do I do whatever? And whether that's your own business or corporate, those are the conversations that are really valuable and get you. Then you meet one person who does that and they're like, oh, you should talk to my boss or you should talk to this colleague because I think they'd really have valuable information for you or a really good perspective. And that's how you connect those dots and become the person that they bring up in those conversations when it's like, okay, we're hiring someone new for this position. Because as always, referrals are the top.
Always.
They're the ones that get the interview first. And so, again, it's not about meeting people to use them to get a job. It's like, if you're trying to figure out a career change, then like go meet people who do that and just like ask them about it. And that might get you into the position that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I can think back to several of my roles that I got that exact way, right? And many of them started with an informational interview, right? And the coffee chat that you just described of really just trying to learn more about the industry. Like really it can start so broad. When you're coming to learn, you're coming to be curious, to ask questions, and then you allow that information to really sink in through a filter of like, what did I like about that conversation? Or where do I have follow-ups? And It's funny because Aligned LLC, my LLC, for coaching aspects, I coined the term "and one," right? It's like anytime you have an informational interview or a coffee chat, remember "and one," making sure to ask for at least one reference or one other person that the person you're speaking to in the moment can introduce you to, so that you can continue that conversation or continue that learning. And each time, if and when you're meeting with one individual, it's a lot less stressful to have to connect with one other person, right? And so that web continues to grow. The knowledge that you're gaining about that industry or about that role, that job, that career, you just continue to add to your repertoire of knowledge, at which point you get to decide, where do I want to go with this? And does it fill my cup or does it not?
Yeah. Because you might have that interview where you're just like, I think that I want to be this person, do this job. And then you go meet somebody who does it. And you're just like, they tell you ask my question in those types of conversations is always like, what does your day-to-day look like? Tell me what do you do when you log onto your computer in the morning? What does this look like? And they'll tell you about it. And you're just like, wow, that sounds really terrible.
Never mind. Yeah.
And like, you might have those conversations, but it also is like, okay, maybe that one's not for me.
Exactly.
But what else could be? And I love that concept of the "and one" of it is so much less scary to converse with one other person. And it's the advice that I give to people who are really nervous in like big group networking settings. Yes, go through the awkward of like busting through, introducing yourself. You think this group already knows each other and whatever. They probably don't. They probably also just met.
Yep.
And that part can be awkward. That part can be awkward forever. I still feel uncomfortable with it sometimes. Like, that's fine. You have to get through that, like, okay, I can do it and I can just meet one person. And then you'll have one conversation where you're just like, oh, that person seemed interesting. That person seemed cool. I want to learn more about them. And then you say, hey, can I get your card or can I get your number? I would love to get coffee and just learn more about you.
Yes.
And that is always my number one for people who are like, group networking scares me. I never know what to say, because it's so much less intimidating to talk one-on-one.
Yeah.
And so if you're really not comfortable being in a group setting and feeling like I can't express myself in the way that I want to, I always say that like the coffee could be great, and worst case scenario is that it's a little bit awkward.
There you go.
Worst case scenario is that it kind of felt like a waste of half an hour.
Yeah.
And you kind of go your separate ways and it's okay.
It's okay. It's totally okay. Yeah. I love that.
And I do want to talk about Girl Grab the Mic.
Oh,
and I think
sure.
what you do in Girl Grab the Mic is bringing together this group of women who all have kind of this common goal of using their voices, becoming confident, public speaking, sharing their thoughts, sharing their opinions out loud, and putting them in that one-to-one setting in a big group setting, which I love.
Yes. Yeah. There's part of that I wanted to build with intention. So I come from having a facilitator background, and what we learn is like an audience, when you think of like plenary, it can be really challenging to raise my hand. And then all of a sudden, all these eyeballs, it's like one moment, boom, they're all looking at me, right? That's a lot. And it can be a lot. But what's easier access point, two things. When I'm talking to one individual, so very much like what you and I just shared, it's a lot less pressure, a lot better chance for me to speak my mind, share a thought, and to converse, right? And play. That's the other access point. All of us have an inner child in us, right? Like we all used to play at some point in our lives. Think back to like a sandbox. Think back to like whatever it might have been when you were younger and you'd play. There wasn't judgment there. It was just show up and play whatever way you do that. And so there's something psychologically proven too about introducing something from a standpoint of play takes the pressure and stress off from me being able to just easily speak. And so I integrate both the one-on-one connections and the ability to have fun while we speak our minds. This isn't pressure to come and talk about politics and all the things that are going on in the world, which still are important things for us to talk about. But the access point are things that you would talk about with a friend, a colleague, a sister, a spouse. I'm talking things like current obsessions, guilty pleasures, bucket list items. I mean, we can go through rapid fire. And yeah, we're talking about why pineapple belongs on pizza or doesn't it? Like those are the types of things. And what I notice as a facilitator on the back end is someone who may not have voluntarily raised their hand in a room of people they've never met before. All of a sudden, they do. They raise their hand, they run up to the mic, and then they do it again. And then they come back and they're seeing these transferable kind of qualities of confidence grown in play, then start to show themselves in the workplace or in conversations that are a little bit more high stakes. It's because of that frequency that we talked about. If I can show myself where to access it once, I'm more likely to be able to access it again. And that's the basis of Girl Grab the Mic.
Can speak to it myself from the first gathering. I can tell how much intention you've baked into it, and you could see it in people. Where I was having those one-on-one interactions with people, they're nervous. I had spoken at the beginning, so I got some like, how do you get comfortable speaking in front of a group? And as the evening progresses, they're so much more open, like their posture's more open, and they're laughing with someone that they're connecting with. And I think every event, it sounds like you've had people kind of stay till the lights turn off. Where it's like, okay, suddenly now this room full of 50 people that I didn't know coming into today, I now feel really comfortable talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And how powerful is that to not only have created that space, but to have created a space where people are excited to step out of their comfort zone and do something that they are coming in saying, this scares me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can learn how to do it here.
Yeah, that part. Gosh, even hearing you say it back, it warms my heart, truly, because I don't think we have enough spaces like that.
We don't.
Truly don't.
I can't think of another one that's doing what you're doing for really like any activity. like you're one of one in my mind.
Woo-hoo!
Well, you are one of one in my mind anyway.
Oh, likewise, Gail. I'm reminded of like the gym metaphor too, as you were kind of describing, and I so appreciate being able to hear your like lived experience of being in that room too. Like that's just, it's amazing to hear. And the gym analogy that I wanted to bring up is like, I was trying to think of ways in the early days of that. Well, I just started a few months ago, but like truly in the early days of how do I start to describe the essence or the vibe of the room? And I was trying to think like the gym, right? Like the gym might have 5, 10, 15-pound weights, right? Like we all know it. And not to say that we're all the most jazzed to step in that gym, but we go in with an intention to get a workout, to do something that works us out a little bit that we can be proud of, right? And so the 5 pounds might be that thing that it's familiar. It's what I pick up. It's what I do. And when I leave the gym, I still am feeling proud about what I did. I flex, I got my reps in. It's great. There's also the 10 pounds that are staring back at me that I know are going to elevate my workout just a degree higher, right? And so that's exciting. I sweat a little bit more and I can feel proud about it. Always the 15-pound is staring back at us. And it's like, not today, right? Like maybe that 15-pound is, for whatever reason, it's higher stakes, but it's something I have my eye on. And I might see other people lifting with it, understanding that there was some type of a progression that got them there to begin with. And so Girl Grab the Mic has these 5, 10, 15-pound or low, medium, higher stake kind of opportunities throughout the evening, where if you just want to come in and be able to really be in community, and I'm talking that's enough, like that is what we want, then that's there for you. And just by saying yes, you get to feel proud of yourself for showing up and practicing. if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, and like that in and of itself, to do that voluntarily, that might be that 10-pound opportunity to flex, to tone, to strengthen.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as you know, because you are our Take the Stage speaker, which is amazing, we have those opportunities to take the floor 3 minutes, uninterrupted time, to speak to an audience and speak on whatever it is that you want, right? And use that space to tell a story, use that space to practice a pitch. We've had that too. Someone practiced for a fundraiser they had coming up. Like, being able to do the thing that feels scary, but to do it with encouragement. And so no matter what happens in that room, you walk away proud for working out your system.
Preach. It's such an awesome space and a great way to wrap up our episode. Asia, thank you so much for being here. It's so lovely every time we get to chat, and I'm so honored to have you on and be able to talk about all of the things that you care about and all of the things that you do for our community. Where can people find you and learn more about all of the amazing things you do?
Yes, thank you, Gail. This has been such a pleasure. You can reach me or find me online at Girl Grab the Mic. It's on TikTok, on Instagram, Asia Lareau. So just incredibly grateful for this spaciousness, this time to yap with you, and really just proud to be in your orbit.
Likewise. Thanks, Asia.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. I'm your host, Gail Fraser, and for more information about Where's Your Humanity, you can check out at Where's Your Humanity Pod on Instagram. And for more information about me and the work that I do, you can go to my website, worksimple.io, which is also my Instagram and Threads handle. Our lovely theme music is brought to you by Emily Bjorky, and you can go check out her album, Are You Going to Heaven or Hell, anywhere you listen to music. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you later.